So I've been working on a PureScript interpreter, and the goal is to have Haskell code and PureScript code interleaving execution back and forth so that we can write the core business logic in Haskell and then write the glue code to glue it all together in PureScript. And being an interpreter, one of the cool things that you can do is drop into a debugger, drop into a REPL as soon as an error occurs. So I'm just going to show how that works. I have a little program called query JSON, and you can pass it a PureScript file, and it will read some JSON and basically act like a PureScript based version of the JQ utility, which allows you to process JSON on the command line. So here, for example, so I've wired this into my interpreter to make this this little utility, and I get an evaluation error here that the record field name was not present in this value. So what's going on here is that if I open input JSON, this is just some data that I dumped out of the GitHub API as an example, and if I look at input.pers, this is a simple program that's just pulling out some relevant information that I want. So I'm mapping over the repos that I get back from the GitHub API. I'm taking out the owner, the name, the description, and the star count. And something's going wrong here, and I want to figure out why. So the interpreter is going to run the input JSON through this function and hit an error. And when it hits an error, it's going to drop me into the debugger with all of the variables in scope available for inspection. So this is sort of like if you're running JavaScript and you're in a browser and you hit a breakpoint. Obviously, you just have all the things that were in scope at the breakpoint available. So here we should have the same level of usability and debugging tools available in the REPL. So let's see how that works. So I'm going to run this again, and we'll take a look at the error. So we get the same error: evaluation failed due to name not being present in the value. Well, this looks like the owner object, okay? But in the REPL here, it's told me, started the debugger. If I press tab, I get a list of all of the things in scope. So I can just run PureScript functions here to figure out what's going wrong. I can ask for repo, for example, and evaluate it. Well, there's a lot here, so I don't really want to dig through all of this, but I know that name is one of two things. Looking at the program, it's either the repo name, which seems to be fine, or it's the owner name. And if I try that, well, then I get an error again. So let's look at the owner object. And here, if I just skim through here, oh, I see, well, it's not actually called name, it's called login. So I can ask for repo owner login, and that does work. So I can go back and modify my original program and fix this up. And I'm hoping if users have an application for this idea of writing Haskell code, but pulling out some of the glue code into PureScript, well, maybe that gives a better trade-off in terms of debuggability. Maybe even we can run this sort of debugging on production machines, have a sort of backdoor into the evaluator. If evaluation fails while it's in one of these PureScript glue code components, well, maybe I can just open a port and allow myself as a developer to drop into a debugging session on a running server, for example, and actually get some visibility into a running process. Because, of course, I get access to all of the closures too. This is not limited to just data structures. I have the ability to capture closures and actually evaluate them in the REPL too before I quit. So hopefully this is this is pretty powerful. The code right now is a hack, to say the least, but it's on its way, and hopefully should have something pretty cool that I can turn into a PR soon.